Okay folks, good afternoon and welcome to the APSL partner webinar on the next steps for your Nortel customer. My name is Rob Wiles, I'm head of channel here at APSL. In the next 45 minutes we're going to take you through a number of items relating to your existing Nortel support customers or a potential way of attacking and acquiring net new customer base. So I'm assisted this afternoon by Gary Blackman. Gary's one of our pre-sales consultants that sits within the group. And really between us what we're going to cover is an understanding of how we've got to where we are with the Nortel portfolio. What choices are there for both legacy and current Nortel customers within the world of Avaya. I'm then going to take you through why we should be interested in this type of opportunity, what returns we can expect, and how APSL can help you attack that customer base, develop existing supported customers. And then at the end of the session we'll go into a question and answer, but if you've got any questions as we go along you can type them into the chat box within your GoToMeeting toolbar. Okay, so without any further ado, what I'm going to do is hand over to Gary Blackman, and Gary will take us through why we're here and the roadmap choices. Thanks, Gary.
Good afternoon, it's Gary Blackman here. So as Rob said, I'm a pre-sales consultant. My job function is to support the sales guys in any design element for the Avaya UC platform, from brand new systems through to upgrades. So I thought I would kick off with a quick reminder of where Nortel is or isn't today, as the case may be. So back in January 2009, Nortel filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy protection, and that sent some shockwaves out into the PBX world and left quite a few people with Nortel involved in the Nortel business quite worried about the future. July 2009, Avaya announced it was entering into a stalking horse agreement to purchase the global enterprise solutions element of Nortel, which actually was still a profitable part of the business. So going into the end of that year, December 2009, Nortel completes the sale of its global enterprise solutions business to Avaya. And I guess to a certain degree, we were, at the time we were a Nortel only house, and we were worried about the future of Nortel voice solutions. Would Avaya effectively force people into a rip and replace for their proprietary CM system? But as we go on, we'll see that that's actually not transpired, and that in fact the CS1000 continues to be developed, and it's running in parallel with our communications manager. Just the last note on there is that APSL are credited to work on both Avaya and Nortel heritage voice solutions, but also the data portfolio. Now what we're going to go through in here is the different types of PBX, and if you come across a customer who today is on TDM but can be tempted to go to voice over IP, we can provide the data, professional services and kit acquisition to put in an Avaya data solution to complement the Avaya voice solution. So I kind of touched on the future for CS1000. I think a lot of people were worried about that during, certainly from the Chapter 11 announcement, and then finding out one of the major competitors was buying them. And like I said, there was the concern was that Avaya would gradually phase out CS1000 and force everyone to go down the CM route. In fact, that wasn't the case at all. On a very basic level, Avaya couldn't afford to alienate that many customers. There's thousands and thousands and thousands globally, and also it was an opportunity really for Avaya to take the best bits of both solutions to make an ultimate solution, if you like. So we're going to I'll talk a little bit about Aura, but I'm not going to dwell on Aura too much because that in itself is a presentation of probably of a couple of hours to go through Avaya Aura and what that means for people. But Avaya Aura is not a product in its own right. It's an umbrella name for the entire UC portfolio for Avaya Voice. And under that umbrella is CS1000, Communications Manager, Contact Center, Conferencing, video conferencing. Effectively what's happening is CS1000 and Communications Manager are being developed in parallel. There is a new release of software coming out to CS1000 at the end of this year, and there's already another version being worked on currently. No timescales to deliver on that, but it is in progress. And what's happening is where there's applications like for voicemail, for example, you've got CS1000 uses Copilot for its voicemail, and you've got Avaya Aura messaging on the Communications Manager side. Modular messaging on the Communications Manager side. What's happening is these adjuncts are being replaced in favour of an alternative that will sit across both platforms. So the idea being is working towards Avaya Aura is you'll be either a CM customer or a CS, but all of your adjuncts would be shared. So here we talk about, here we mention Aura in a bit more detail. So 7.5, we're going to go into this a little bit of detail in a couple of slides, but 7.5 is the current release of software. And was labelled as the integration release because it gave a lot tighter integration features into the Avaya Aura platform. 7.6 will focus on serviceability, and the next release you'll see some more, some further tighter integration into the Aura platform. So just a little bit of terminology for those of you who aren't used to working on the Nortel product, or what was Nortel product. You might hear people talking about Avaya Blue or Avaya Red. That's very simply a reference to the badges. Traditional Avaya systems, because it's an Avaya Red badge, that's Avaya Red obviously, and CS1000 Meridian is referred to as Avaya Blue because of the blue Nortel badge. So the heritage Nortel systems that are out there in the marketplace at the moment, there are 1,000 of them. They range in various different size depending on the customer's requirement, but you could go down to what's called an option 11C Mini, which is a small rack-mounted solution aimed at no more than 100 users. And then the next one up from that is the option 11C Cabinet, which is probably the most popular one that you're likely to come across outside of CS1000. The cabinet is the one shown on the left there. It's almost certainly will be wall mounted, although some people have adapted brackets to hang them in 19-inch racks. Single processor system capable of supporting up to 700 ports, and the columns you see on the right hand side, it will either be option 61 or option 81, both dual processor digital systems capable of supporting 2,000 users or up to 16,000 users. At the in the event of IP coming around, so Nortel, rather than reinvent the wheel at the time of got the new PBX to sweat the assets they had, they came up the same as every other manufacturer. They IP enabled their PBX. This was typically done through cards that slot into the existing gateways. But as time moved on and voice over IP became more and more prevalent, about 8 years or so ago, Nortel brought out the CS1000, and again that was available in a single or dual processor solution. The CS1000 is a pure IP-based solution at its core, but it is able to support TDM as a hybrid as well. So the heritage Nortel software, like I said earlier, the current version is 7.5. That's about to be, later this year, will be replaced by 7.6. But just to give you an idea of the capabilities and Avaya's policy around previous versions of software and being able to expand, so I thought I sort of touch on that a little bit. So from the inception of when they bring a new release of software on, it's typically 7 years from when it becomes generally available to the public to when it becomes end of sale and is no longer available in any way, shape or form. And there are 5 different phases of the lifecycle policy. General availability means that that is the current version, so any expansion required would be around 7.5. End of sale means that that version has now typically been superseded by a new one. You can still expand that version. Manufacturer support means that it's now gone into a limited state of support, in that you can no longer expand it through something called Enterprise Configurator, which is an online Avaya tool which has records of what's installed on the system license-wise and is able to run algorithms to check that the expansion work you're doing would be supported. For any software, for software release 5.0, 5.5 and 6.0, these are still expandable, but these are done through something called e-authorization codes, which are effectively off-the-shelf expansion for certain elements of a phone system, like IP users or ACD agents or something along those lines. There's a little bit more work involved on the pre-sales perspective from that, because you can't run it through the configurator. We just have to take a look at the system and make sure that the expansion can be supported with the existing hardware, because if it doesn't, that would force an upgrade. That's not to say, though, that we are unable to support older systems. We do support older systems. We support quite a lot of older systems than the ones that are put there. It just means that customers would have to accept a limited amount of support, in as much as what we could escalate up to Avaya. So what are your options today if you do have a Nortel, now Avaya heritage solution? So if you have a TDM platform today, the Meridian, you can still upgrade that, keep that as it is, keep all the users on digital handsets, and bring the software up to date. Effectively, it doesn't really matter what Nortel's platform you've got, there will be an upgrade or migration path. Now that could be to stay on TDM, as I just said. It could be to switch over to an IP solution, but still keeping some of your TDM sets, doing a partial swap out, you know, whatever suits the business at the time. But I think one of the key factors about this webinar, apart from the promos which we're going to go on, which help to aggressively price support an upgrade for an existing customer. If a customer purchases 7.5 today with a pass agreement for Pass Basic, they will get 7.6 software for free, which is coming later this year. There would still be a small engineering charge for that upgrade, because once you've gone to 7.5, there's no real hardware to speak of. It's likely to be flashcards and software upgrade only. Just to clarify what Pass is, for anyone who doesn't know, Avaya introduced an agreement called Pass, and there are 2 different versions of it. There's Pass Basic and Pass Plus. And what Pass Basic does is it's an agreement that you buy, and it enables us to escalate to Avaya in the event of finding an issue that we can't resolve. Now, typically we look at certainly resolving Tier 1 and Tier 2 faults, and in some instances Tier 3. But if it's something inherent in software, for example, that we can't resolve, the Pass Basic agreement allows us to escalate that into Avaya for them to have a look and write patches for if necessary, that kind of stuff. The next version up is Pass Plus, and what Pass Plus does, it gives you the entitlements of Pass Basic, but also enables you to take advantage of free software upgrades for the period of the maintenance agreement you've taken out. Now, typically at the moment, for people with, you know, trying to be cost effective at the moment, generally we're seeing that people are asking for 1 or 2 year maintenance contracts typically at the moment. And as such, for a 2-year contract for Pass, because you're getting 7.6 for free if you go to 7.5, we would say save your money, go for Pass Basic, and the extra money that you're about to spend for Plus, you can keep that in budget for reinvestment at a later date. So there are 3 options available to customers today on the Heritage solution that have promotions attached to them. There's what we would class as the minimum upgrade, and this is for someone who has a CS1000 or Meridian in place today, doesn't have budget to spend a lot of money on it, or certainly don't want to do any expansion, but to bring it, this is just to bring it into line, bring it up to 7.5, and get them their free 7.6, brings it back into full support, and there will undoubtedly be features, depending on how old their current version is, of inherent features in the software that they may be of interest to them. I recently did a document for a customer upgrading from release 4, and from release 4 to 7, there were something in the region of about 155 new features. Not suggesting that all of those would be of interest, obviously, but some of them maybe. So we could look at those on a case-by-case basis. The minimum upgrade has a minimal engineering time attached. Typically, there'd be a small amount of engineering consultancy up front to work with the customer to make sure that all the information was gathered for the upgrade, and to discuss the upgrade approach with the customer, agree an outage window. But that outage window, typically, you would expect to be maybe 1,800 hours outside normal office hours. The upgrade would take place through the night, and by the next morning, you should be up and running on a new version of software. The next promotion is something called Collaboration Pack. And this is really for customers who are interested, or maybe who have already started dabbling in things like bring your own device, are interested in video conferencing, that kind of stuff. I mean, there are a lot of customers out there at the moment where their staff are just bringing iPads in, their iPhones, they're connecting them up so they can do email on them and the rest of it. So it's rather than trying to keep them separate, it's finding a way of bringing them into the network and keeping them under the control of the IT department. We've got a slide coming up to show you what's in Collaboration Pack. And lastly, there's CS1000 migration to Aura Communications Manager, which is the red product, the red PBX. Now, this might be of interest to people where they have, for example, where they have mixed estates at the moment. They may have a predominant install base of Communications Manager, got a couple of disparate Nortel systems out there. They don't want to invest in them anymore. They would like really to consolidate on CM, and this promo allows you to provision new CM solutions at massively discounted rates. So the minimum upgrade, what do you need to be able to trigger that promo? So there's a list of bits you need to order. You need to order the upgrade to 7.5 plus one of those items there. Now, obviously, if you've got someone who's on TDM and you're persuading them that IP phone to go IP, get them to go 20 IP phones as a starter. That'll kick in the promo and they'll get the discount that way. Alternatively, my personal favourite for this would be mobile extension. It's something that the customer will probably use straight away, maybe not all 50, but it's definitely something that they are likely to use. So the benefits of doing that upgrade, obviously bring them back under full manufacturer support. It may allow the customers to benefit from the newer architecture from release 5.0, which I guess is about 4-5 years old now. The processor and gateway controller architecture changed to enable the system to become much more flexible. Prior to that, if you had an option 11C cabinet that we were talking about, and this is the most popular one probably out there, as your business grew and maybe you put a contact center on there and then that became a good money earner for the company, they may wish to protect that investment by going dual processor. But if you had an option 11C, you wouldn't have been able to do that. You'd have had to rip and replace for a dual processor system. Going to release 5 eliminates that issue, and you can start off on a single processor system and then move to a high availability solution as and when suits the business. And I obviously touched there the potential benefit for added software features that are inherent in the newer releases. And what I mean on the last point by greener platform, I'll give an example on that. We're currently working with a large bank in London who have a release for Meridian 81C that was originally scaled to 2,000 users, so it's huge. It takes up a load of space in their comms room. And since it was installed, they've scaled back and they're now running 800 users, so there's a lot of hardware not being used. So we're working on an opportunity for them to take over the maintenance, but also include a migration to an IP platform as part of that offering. And just on power alone, without the obvious benefit of floor space, just on power alone, it was something like 75 to 80% less power once it had been scaled down to an IP rack-mounted solution. It went from a floor-mounting cab system that was probably somewhere in the region of about 25 foot long and 6 foot high, down to 3 9U rack-mounted cabs. The collaboration pack, to invoke this promotion, you need to, again, you need to do the 7.5 upgrade, and you need to include 50 personal call assistants and the collaboration pack. Now we've got a slide on the collaboration pack and what it includes, but effectively the collaboration pack is adding something called a feature server, which adds enhanced functionality to the CS1000. You get 50 Flare communicator for iPad clients. Flare is their video conferencing solution. It's all based on SIP, very swish, very posh. Always makes a good impression when you take them into the EVC and they can have a look at that. There are also 1X that will enable instant messaging, presence, all that kind of stuff as well. So the benefits are pretty much the same as the previous one, except for you get the added functionality through the feature server, assist customers in the deployment for bring your own device. That is definitely a growing trend we're seeing, and also the support for video communications. Again, this is something that we're starting to see quite a lot of inquiries and traction in the market for. So release 7.6, we can't say that we know everything about this at the moment because the full details of the software release won't become available until it goes GA. But what we do know is that there are about 12 new features, which is not a lot, and that's because Avaya had looked at basically a common complaint I think about CS1000 is that it's fully featured, it's a really good reliable system. However, the management interface isn't quite so good, and when you're trying to find faults, that can be quite arduous. They've recognised that, and this is going to be branded as a serviceability release, and it will be concentrating on making the administrator's life much easier on their day-to-day tasks. But one of the key features that is coming in to support the interest in video and the growth in video is the shared bandwidth management application or feature. So that's it from me. If you're particularly interested in the Avaya Aura and you want us to come and talk to you about that, because I've said that is a slide deck all on its own right, then please contact your account manager and we can sort something out. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Gary. So, guys, kind of top and tail on that is, there's the investment those customers have made in those platforms is not dead. Okay, so we can go to them with a positive message that says we have a short-term measure for you, we have a collaboration measure for you, or we even have an option to do a complete technology refresh for you. And I think that's very, very positive. I think the key with all of this is, number one, if we're talking to customers that are existing installed and supported by yourselves, then we have to get that message out there, because if we don't do it, somebody else will be. But also, it doesn't cover a massive opportunity for us within the market for net new customer acquisition. So the numbers you can see on the slide up there at the moment are hot off the press directly from Avaya. So we have 12,000 plus Meridian option generally 11s out there in the marketplace, and over 3,000 CS1Ks, option 81s, option 61s, the larger mid-market, large enterprise platforms. Majority of those customers sit with BT. BT have very little interest in moving that base, or if they are going to move it, it's potentially to Mitel or to Cisco, not necessarily to Avaya. So it puts us on a nice level playing field if we are talking about a technology refresh. But just to give you an idea of the numbers we're talking about, what I've got up there is an average support contract both for a Meridian Option XX or a CS1K. Okay, so £2,500 to £8,000 for a CS1K is a significant support contract to have on your books. But then when you look at the upgrade prices, so a Meridian with 100 users on it, typically an option 11 would be £22,000 to upgrade, and a CS1K would be $72,000 for 350 users. Now those values are based upon the Avaya technology refresh promotion, and those figures were given to us directly by Avaya. But it gives you an idea of some of the opportunity and the revenue that's available throughout the program. When you actually take that and put it into a single site kind of revenue model, it's not just about looking at it on a 1 year hit. It's looking at the complete revenue over a 3-year period or a 5-year period, because this is an opportunity to sign existing customers into longer contracts because you're moving them up to a software level that's supportable. But also when you capture a new customer, you want to sign them for as long as you possibly can. So if you look at the revenue numbers here, yes, a good chunk of that is the upgrade, but over the 5-year period, the support adds a significant amount, and because they're your customer, you'll also get the moves, adds and changes. And APSL can support you in all of that activity. When you look at that from a margin perspective, what we've done here is blended the averages between a Meridian and a CS1K to give you an idea of the margins over that 1, 3 and 5-year period. Again, you can see the upgrade provides the bulk of it, but support, especially when you're backing it off to an organisation as ourselves, also becomes very, very profitable. And we can secure these customers for at least a 5-year period. We're maintaining customers actually whose kit went end of sale, end of life years ago, and we've still got them up and running. They have very few problems and we can look after them. But this is where the big numbers come into play. So based upon the figures that Avaya have given us, we have a very large number of customers we can go and talk to. If as a community we achieve some of the win rates on the left hand side, okay, so a 10% penetration would mean 1,500 net new customers to our partner base over a 3-year period on the stuff we just modeled before. You're talking about £96 million in revenue. That's massive. It's absolutely massive. And I think that gives you a reasoning behind why BT don't want to do too much with that base, because it's bringing in very, very good revenue for them. And you talk to an average BT customer, what they say is, well, everything goes on my one bill, that's where the support costs are. BT don't really talk to me about my phone system unless I'm going to them with a problem. Okay, BT will be very happy for that base to sit there for a long, long time, so we've got an opportunity to really hit it and hit it hard. Get any higher on those win rates, you're into millions and millions of pounds of opportunity. And what we want to do is enable you as quickly and as efficiently as we possibly can to start tackling that base. So these are the 4 things we can bring to the table for you. So first and foremost, Gary is a member of a 7-man pre-sales consultancy team. All of those guys are available to you as our partners for high-level design, for talking a customer through what their options are, or even organising a partner-specific webinar for your customers to go through what we've been through today. So that's part of the standard APSL offering. Promotions. So you may not be an Avaya partner, but Avaya have approved access to those promotions as long as the transaction is done by APSL. So you gain access to all of the price-supported bundles, which could range from anything from an additional 30% discount to an additional 60% discount, depending on which route your customer wants to go. Alongside that, we're also introducing some finance options, so we can talk to your customer about leasing. We can talk about moving that expenditure away from CapEx to OpEx and hopefully build your business case more efficiently from there. On the marketing side, we've got a ready-made, ready-to-go e-shop template that we can customize with your logo and your call to action. So you can use that to start setting up the market to take this message out to. But I think what underpins all of this and should never be discounted is our engineering expertise. So the engineers that work within our group have done these upgrades already. They're experienced in it. They know it can get complicated if contact centers involved, but they know how to do it. So we can cost it properly, set expectations with the customer right, prove capability, and ultimately deliver the project very, very risk-free. Okay, so we can do all of this within the APSL group. But we do know that people like incentives. So if all of the stuff we talked about before doesn't turn you on, maybe this will. So what we're saying is for the first 5 upgrade orders that we get through with a minimum order value of £10,000 to APSL, those 5 salespeople can choose between a brand new iPad 3 or £500 worth of onthebeach.co.uk holiday vouchers. Okay, so just to qualify that some more, that's a minimum order value of £10,000 to us. Okay, got to involve a minimum of a 7.5 upgrade, as Gary's explained. Providing you've met those and you're one of the first 5 orders through the door, you'll have your choice of an iPad 3 or £500 worth of holiday vouchers. Okay, so I kind of hope that incentivize you enough to take this opportunity seriously. I think it's something that won't come around very often, but has been brought to us because Avaya are desperate to start migrating this base. All right, as I said before, if we don't do something, other people will be doing it. Other Avaya partners, other legacy Nortel partners will be talking to those customers. So the quicker we get out there with this, the more impact we're going to have. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to unmute everybody. Okay, and we can have a Q&A session if anybody's got any questions. If not, what I'll be doing after this is I'll be sending out the slide deck, a link to a recording of this session, and a link to the pre-made marketing e-shop.
Yeah, I've got. Yeah, it sounds about right. I've just looked at my diary on the 24th. I've got our up visiting.
And obviously, Mr. Taylor's now broadcasting all over us now, so we'll mute him out. Has anybody got any questions? No? Okay, no problem. So thank you very much for your time, folks. I hope